Build. Sound money. Hello, hello, guys. Are we on? I think we are. All right. We've got two guests too today. Benjamin Peterson, great seeing a new face. All right. Can we hear Benjamin Peterson? And
I don't know. Can you?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, we can. All right.
Pause the music.
Great. All right. Well, I thought we'd just get on and do another real casual show with members. And, we're just kind of doing a little market testing and having fun. I'm having a blast, and I think it's real important to get on. I noticed Bitcoin is making new contract highs as we speak. There's lots of going on. Of course, in Washington, we have a nation in crisis right now. I think it's very serious. And so we can talk about that. We can look at the prices. I've been kind of in the middle of a little gold and Bitcoin debate, but it's an in-house debate, and I think it should be very friendly. And so, who else do we have? There had somebody else on the show. Who we have?
Yeah, I had no idea I was joining this. I just saw a link on there and clicked, and it was kind of like my first time really doing any Zoom or like YouTube videos or anything like that. So I just did it spontaneously. But
all right, well, yeah, I take it you're a member then of.
Yeah. I mean, I've followed you, in Tone. I found you from Tone, and I've found that Tone kind of got me into not really Bitcoin, but TA. And I probably lost more money following Tone's trades than anyone else. But, and then, yeah. And then, watching you was like really kind of something that completely changed my perspective on the trade, because especially the, getting wrecked, but not getting ruined thing, because in 2017, I was, just absolutely killing it, just hodling. And then in 2018, I just got completely ruined. So I started back over, and, and now I'm doing very well. Just basically, I'm not using your actual equity app, but I am just using it mentally.
And that's fine. You don't need the equity app. This is just for other people. Sometimes it makes it easier. And it was an idea that I wanted to do. And, fortunately, Victor picked right up on it. So it's made it a lot easier for other people. And what it's really done is help other people visualize what I'm doing, because otherwise they don't understand, I mean, you look at that equity, and that's what you're searching for. Is you want that equity to just slowly rise. And it doesn't matter where you start, and you just can't get wrecked, and that's the most important thing. So, and it has revealed things. The number one thing that it's revealed to me this year is, you can actually get paid substantially for trading if you're a market maker. But you're trading your own equity. But man, if you learn this thing, guy, you're going to be a super trader someday. I mean, a lot of you guys are. I mean, I'm just an old fart here, and if I can do it, you can. So
So I wouldn't say I've exactly been following you, but I've been in the gold trade and using a lot of the same kind of techniques, and I've also been in a lot of Bitcoin trades, and then also just in the traditional markets, kind of with the commodities now, which I think is the next, one that I'm really watching: oil, rice, sugar, gold. So I find all of those to be a lot more better risk trades right now than just trading, like the NASDAQ triple Q, where it's just basically a piece of paper.
So and it might be better than trading Bitcoin too. That's what I'm going to kind of go into. Like, the market dynamics have changed so much that for low risk trading, and as these Bitcoin prices rise, you can risk a very little amount of Bitcoin and take substantial positions in commodities markets. And particularly, you know, like say, you can't, there's limited because there aren't that many you can trade using Bitcoin as collateral. But I think that's going to really change in the coming year. So it's going to open up basically hedging strategies and speculative strategies for Bitcoin hodlers. So we got another new guy, Abe, in there. Is he muted or do we unmute him? How do we get him in there?
Let's ask them to unmute.
Okay, Abe, yeah, if you want to get in here, just unmute your mic. You don't have to show your face if you don't want to. If you want to, that's fine too. And I will just mention that all of the members, guys, we do respect your privacy in every way. All you need, members only need to provide an email, and they get all the services except the swag. And you know, we take all the security we can. I'm probably a target, but not a big one. And me personally, not you guys, but yeah, we certainly do have, you know, we take all kinds of precautions ourselves, and there's no reason why, you know, I'm a public figure, but you guys aren't. And so we can really respect that because, you know, Bitcoin is you're going to be, your privacy is something you want to guard nowadays, especially in the years ahead. So all right, so I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I kind of wanted, we might have some new people in here, and I want to invite you guys, if you're new to Bitcoin, visit uglyoldgoat.com. I'm just an old guy that writes articles and keep you out of trouble. We're going to talk about trading. We'll talk about Bitcoin, but if we talk about trading and you don't have Bitcoin, don't worry about it. We just teach you to hodl, and that is you just start saving Bitcoin. You start, you know, putting it away on a regular basis by dollar cost averaging. You will, yeah, there's a website. You can just by dollar cost averaging, and you can just read that flagship article. That'll get you started and down the rabbit hole of Bitcoin. So, but we're going to talk about trading right now because we got some. The way we are doing this is we are opening this up to the public. All of our content is free, and right now and it will be. We're going to probably have some kind of a living book come out this year, but that'll be later for people that you know aren't ready for a membership or don't really need one. You don't need to be. Our memberships are not cheap, and so and certainly don't need us to be a successful trader. It's all there on the website, and now and again we open up, you know, what we do here for the public, and these are people that have been that are members. You know, that I started this in 2019, and I think the website became active right about then. And what I do is I every trade that I make, I publish. And so people think I have some kind of magic beans because I do, you know, I have been able to take very small amounts and make it into very large amounts consistently. And I've done it now I've been in Bitcoin for since 2013, and I've been a profitable trader every year, and I started documenting that beginning in the fall of 2018. And so I'm trying to pass on this wisdom to you younger guys because you can avoid some of the very expensive lessons that I've learned, that Tone Vays has learned, and some very expensive lessons that people have learned this year because they believe in Bitcoin, but they blew it with their money management aspect. And that's just what we heard from Benjamin. So yeah, outline your story. How did you recover from getting ruined?
Well, let's see. I mean, I kind of got a long history. I've been in Bitcoin for quite a while. But you know, when I started trading, I started over trading. You know what happens. You make a lot of money and you lose a lot of money. my net worth looked like basically a hyperwave chart back when I was first figuring it out. So, but I think I actually met you in Las Vegas when you had your big ugly old goat kind of Indian little headpiece.
Oh,
on
I remember.
there
Didn't you try
at the
and
bar.
you tried to teach me Litecoin too, right? Were you the guy that was trying to show me Litecoin or something like that?
Oh no, absolutely not.
Yeah. Okay. Or Lightning Network, not Litecoin, Lightning Network. I'm sorry, Lightning Network.
No, I can care less about any altcoin really.
Well, that's not an altcoin. It's Lightning Network, which I haven't caught on to it yet.
Oh,
I
like
haven't
no,
seen it
no,
on
I'm
YouTube.
really not that. I'm not that technical. I'm not technical.
Okay. Okay.
Um,
It's I mean,
so
it's those conferences are great, but it's kind of a fog because everybody, they meet me and I can't remember names or faces anyway, but I really appreciate, you do look familiar. So
well,
now that you called,
before you disclose your actual identity, I feel like I kind of pried and I did diligence and I figured out who you were before you actually went public and disclosed your identity. And I think the thing for me was when you were on the cruise with Roger Rivera, you were calling him out for the BCH scam, and
Yeah.
you were getting real pissed off. Maybe you had a couple of tequilas or something, but you kind of halfway stormed the stage on that cruise, and I was like, that's got to be the goat there. So
Yeah, they actually made a real funny song about that, on Jimmy's song. And who's that ugly, fat ugly guy? And then, so I said, yeah, I'm that fat ugly guy.
I can't remember where I was going with my story there, but I don't know. I mean, for the most part, I with you is definitely been the, I wish I would have met you back in 2017 instead of having Tyler, tell me about hyperwave theory that everyone believed at that time was going to work. And $1,000 Bitcoin was like 99.9% sure. I mean, I was just such a believer in it at that point. And, and I remember you at the Las Vegas conference saying that you think the bottom's in at around 3,000. And I actually won that. I won that poker tournament. I won Tone's the first poker tournament that he had at the Unconfiscatable.
Okay,
So,
that's where I remember you from. Yeah.
Yeah. I won that
Okay.
tournament.
Okay.
So I think I won like 3 or 4 Bitcoin at the time, which it was only like a $3,000 Bitcoin, but in today's price, it's well over $100,000 that I won in that poker tournament. So
isn't that incredible? Yeah, my BitMEX account now is just at 0.3. And so that's kind of decided. I'm actually at 0.3 and measured in dollars. I'm starting out with more than I started out. Yeah, I think in about the same, maybe what I started out. No, less. I'm starting out with more than in 2018, 19, and 20. But the Bitcoin's only 0.3. Can you believe it? The 0.3 Bitcoin. And that's a third of a Bitcoin's worth over 10 grand. Incredible.
Well, one thing I find interesting right now is the contango percentage is not really extremely high. I know it is high, but
right.
If you look at it in percentage terms, it's really not that high right now. So I find it interesting, each time that Bitcoin, like we go to a new level, the contango I know for March is like $1,200 or something like that right now. But if you look at it in percentage terms, it's not crazy.
Yeah. And we could probably start covering that now because that's part of what the market structure has changed and the dynamics has changed. And we're in new uncharted territory. So a lot of what's going to be happening, you just can't go by, this is what's happened in the past for Bitcoin because it's not going to make any sense. And therefore, I mean, it's not going to be, it scares me because it looks like this thing, it could go very well 10x, and it could, how fast, who knows? And that day will come if we're headed toward the hyperinflation. The fundamentals are certainly there. And it's just going to be a reckless time. And most fortunes will be lost. Some fortunes will be made, but there's going to be a lot of fortunes lost. And so, guys, we're just going to have to be real careful in here, and we'll just play it one step at a time. Hopefully, I think it's going to require some new strategies and new thinking. I'm really, I'm weighing it. Do I even want to, get in there and try it again? But I will, and see what I can do. But it's not going to be. I want it to be fun, and I don't know if this year is going to be fun for anybody. I hope it is. I'm going to try and make it as fun as I can, but it's a very spooky time. I notice we're making new highs, and that kind of fits in. I play with what's going on in Washington. I think tomorrow is the day that they're going to count the electors, so we actually could very well have a constitutional crisis in here. And we're making new highs in Bitcoin. It looks like we're at well over 35,000 now. So
yeah, it's kind of funny because I was, I'm a big Trump supporter and libertarian conservative type person. And I remember when back in the election, I was going, God, I hope Trump wins. But as a Bitcoiner, I feel like, with Biden winning, it would actually be better for the price of Bitcoin. And the reason for that is just because of the same COVID crisis that is affecting a lot of the tech stocks out there, Zoom or whatever. It basically just progresses the price of Bitcoin a little bit quicker than if it were Trump winning, which is unfortunate for the people, but it's good it's good for us Bitcoin hodlers. So I guess we'll see what happens in the Georgia runoff, but I feel like a lot of the volatility kind of coming right now is based off of that.
I don't know, about the whole thing. It's just, even if we're going to go into hyperinflation, I would rather have it on a Biden watch than a Trump watch. But, the fundamental that Tone has pointed out, which he's correct on, is, it's the people are losing confidence in the United States because of the corruption. But I see it much more long term. I kind of call it out when the COVID crisis hit and they had the COVID bailout. I said, this is it. This is what's going to wake people up, because all of a sudden they didn't see the inflation, but now you're the direct beneficiary of the inflating, and you're going to see what's really been going on.
You were calling it well before the COVID happened, though. I remember hanging out by the pool, and you were saying there's going to be a tsunami of fiat money that's going to be printed. This is at least a year ago, and I'm thinking, what is he talking about right now? He sounds like he's right. I want to believe him, but I don't know exactly what he's talking about. We've had QE before with Obama, and we have low interest rates, but I don't see this printing going on. And I remember you called the big tsunami of money, and that was back when Bitcoin was $13,000, and you were still calling for a $3,000 Bitcoin because of the contango spread. And I know you say you're not a technical guy, and a lot of people's technical analysis is better than you. And I appreciate that, but you really have the wisdom of a true goat, of someone who's been and seen everything. So
contango is not TA. I mean, it just isn't. Yeah, contango is fundamental. It's a market fundamental that people just don't understand. But there's no technical about it. It's there, and it will always, the contango always will merge with the spot. That's just the nature of the beast. And so it creates huge hedging opportunities. But what opened up my eyes to this particular thing was when I said, man, I got to do a little bit more history here. And then I did that little research in March and started reading up on the Weimar Republic. And I did not realize that France and Belgium actually invaded Germany. I don't know, it was 1921 or 23, to collect reparations. And in response, the German government ordered people to work, not to go to work, but don't produce anything and you'll still get paid, which is exactly what we did with COVID. And so basically, it's the COVID, it's not the COVID flu, which I have now, guys. I'm kind of dressed up for it, but it's not the COVID flu that caused the runaway inflation. It was a reaction, or it wasn't the invasion, it was the reaction to the invasion. So the COVID flu, I kind of likened to that French invasion, which I didn't even recognize happened. And then I think Tone threw in the towel basically when he realized that, you know, Trump won the election, but it's so corrupt, the election has been stolen. And so, and now people are finding out that, hey, there's no due process in the United States. And any of us that have been through the federal system have known that that's been gone, you know, for a generation now. So it's been step by step, one by one, we've lost our freedoms. And I don't know that we're even able to get it back. And so, you know, it's a very scary time. And if we do, it's going to happen in a different way. It may not happen through the United States at all. So at any rate. But wow,
yeah, I think a lot of us in the United States, you know, I got to come down there and visit you sometime. I'm not too far away from you. And I've been down to Ensenada and stuff, you know, a number of times. I was just in Cabo, you know, for New Year's. And
okay.
I was like, it is a lot safer here than it is I flew back into LAX, and I was freaking out by, you know, my travel gear. And you know, you're seeing these shocks all over the place in just the most random places. So for an example, first, when the COVID started happening, I tried to go out and buy my first gun in California. It took me 4 months to get the gun. And by the time I got it, they told me that it was a moon rock, that, you know, they were still holding it for me, but it took so long to get the clearance that it was basically a moon rock. If you put that gun back out onto the floor, it wouldn't even get to the floor. The employees would, you know, scoop it up and take it for themselves. But you're seeing it all, like, we tried to get an Uber just back from the airport. There was no Ubers from the airport anymore. And I think the reason is just the Ubers are not wanting to do any rides for $20. $20 isn't enough for them anymore. So they're saying, screw it, we don't want to do it. I think you're starting to see it again in just super random places like grocery stores.
Another bottle.
So
yeah, it's pretty normal down here. I haven't been out the last few days, but we are in the middle of the worst part of it now. I mean, the hospitals are completely full here in you know, Ensenada, Tijuana, Mexicali, and all of San Diego, all of Southern California. I think LA, you know, LA is a mess. And
yeah,
so, but hopefully we'll get over it in 2 weeks. But the difference is, believe it or not, Mexico is not as socialized as the United States is, and we're a lot freer down here. And you know, we just have a different, you know.
yeah. I'm not Los Angeles.
He goes
I'm
to the
not Los
bank
Angeles
with the
anymore.
ATV.
I'm in Newport now, which is everything's open here. My gym's open, restaurants, you know, everything's open, so it's great. I moved out of LA when all that happened. I couldn't be more happy.
Really? So Newport as a city, how are they getting it? They're just ignoring it, or how's that working?
Newport's it's like one of the most conservative cities in California. So you got a little island of red inside of a sea of blue, right? So they're just kind of on their own. They're like, we're not closing down. We're not listening, except for the big corporations and the franchises that kind of have to listen to it. And they've got everything closed down in California, but gym's open. The workout classes in the gym are open. It's packed. There's 40 people in each class. The restaurants, you go to the beach. No one cares here, which is great.
Good.
Yeah. But, I think the thing is, for a lot of these people that are in these states that are locked down, they're like, well, where do we go? You know, I mean, if you're going to leave the US, like, where do you go from here? If stuff, because I listen to Tone's like, the smart people are going to be leaving, but the problem is like, where do you go? You know, like Costa Rica, they're closing down the beaches at 2 p.m. or whatever. We don't need to go on about like COVID stuff. I know all the people do that, and all the videos or whatever. If you want to stick with Bitcoin, that's fine as well. But I mean, that's what I think about all the time, is like, where is your backup plan? I know Ensenada's good, but it might be a little bit bit too slow for a millennial.
Well, I like it. I think it's a pretty good plan because I'm comfortable with Mexico, and more and more I learn how it works, and it's a different thinking. It's it takes an adjustment to it, but I feel much safer here. We have a lot more freedom here. Like Eddie just went to the bank today on the ATV. Well, you can't do that in Newport Beach, I don't think.
Oh yeah, I thought your story about your dog attacking the other dog and having to break him up, and your dog kind of fucking the other dog up, and then the neighbor and then the neighbor, you're thinking the neighbor's gonna sue you or something like that.
Yeah,
the neighbor's like, yeah,
wow,
your dog's a really tough dog. That's a good dog.
Yeah, your dog's better than my dog. Yeah, I'm going, oh wow, I never thought anything like that before.
I think I'm gonna get sued here in Mexico. They're like, that's a good dog right there.
Yeah,
you gotta keep that dog. Here you'd be like, I gotta move to Mexico now.
Yeah, it is. Well, that's the problem. And I don't know, like I say, we have all these dogs and we have all this security, but so far they haven't bitten any of the thieves yet. They just I've been bitten, and we have an innocent woman get, bitten. And the same with all the security. All the security does is keep me out. It doesn't seem to keep anybody else out. So anyway.
So how long have you been how did you go from, I kind of know, I think most people on here know your story and stuff like that, and with your wife being Mexican, but how did you go about finding your wife or whatever and then moving down there?
Well, I just went to Tijuana and met her, and I was, you know what, someday we'll have to tell that story because it's a story in itself, and it's really kind of a witnessing story, but yeah, it's kind of a deliverance. I wouldn't be where I am or doing what I'm doing now without her. So let's put it that way, because I'm totally corrupt person, and I needed a wife. I needed a woman by my side, and so I couldn't I couldn't do it. I just prayed I asked the Lord for a wife, and he delivered me one. So sometime I will tell the story. I don't recommend anybody find a wife the way I have, but at any rate, it's definitely a hand of the Lord in it. And, it's kind of a story for generations. And I've got three wonderful grown sons, and then I have my new family down here, and I have three sons and she has three children. And then we adopted a little girl, and yet this little girl is the only child between the two of us that will hopefully have a parent throughout her entire life. So she's really special in that way. So that's the beginning of the story, and I'll just finish that another day because I don't know if I'm up for it tonight. It's kind of a very emotional thing, and a lot of guys, I got a lot of baggage, and so and none of it's bad. I mean, it's bad, but it's all worked out you just have to keep a long-term perspective in life. All things work for good for those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose and not our own. So who is Sam Azar? Can you unblock him so he can speak to us for bad news? Oh no, I'm not expecting bad news. What's going on, Sam? Did the Democrats winning, or?
My mic is off.
Oh, your mic is off. Oh, okay. Oh, from Montreal. Okay. But the mic is off. Okay. You're welcome to join in if you can. Oh, okay. All right. I don't know what the news is from Georgia. Is anybody keeping up with that? But last I looked, it looked like the Republicans were ahead. The two Georgia Republicans were ahead. Has that been turned around now, or what's going on? Anybody know the election results? I looked about a couple hours ago, but I haven't kept up. Oh, listening to Newsmax. Go to Newsmax. Okay. Well, what?
Newsmax?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. He's just saying, just listening to Newsmax. I don't listen to Newsmax. I should. I paid it. Well, don't worry about it.
So I got this poncho down in Mexico because I see on your video you're always wearing a poncho, and I was like,
Yeah,
I
you
gotta
know
get-
what? They're real, and the people have to understand the weather here because it's very mild weather, but it gets oh, there it is. I guess they're winning. Okay, the Democrats are winning. Huh? Okay, well, you had it a minute ago. There it is. Okay. Okay. Well, the Republican won. It looks like the Republicans are, I don't know. Who knows? We'll find out tomorrow. Yeah, I found out that these ponchos are nice because and very practical. Mexicans tend to be a very practical people. And when you're here, you can, I mean, particularly if you're walking down the highway, you can just, mine's open on the side, but it's a blanket at night. And you just put your arms around it. It's cool if you're going like this, and it's warm if you put your hands underneath it. And, you know, you kind of need something in the evenings or on a cool day because it never gets real cold, but it does get chilly sometimes. So it's just very practical. And I see, you know, guys with the, I've actually seen guys with the old sombreros or hat, and they're curled up with their serapes and sleeping, you know, in front of the OXO. That's not an uncommon. Huh?
The bums?
No, not a bums. They're legitimate. Some people travel that way and they're thumbing rides and so forth. That they can be bums, but a lot of them aren't. I mean, you know, there is poverty down here, and travel can be difficult.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think if I've got any other good questions for you because I feel like you're just a you know, a wealth of information.
Yeah, you do have to pull it out of me though.
Yeah. So I guess with goal, I saw a little bit of the discussion you had with the you know, with that guy the other day, kind of getting a little heated or whatever. And you know, I feel like a lot of times people like to just try to get attention by being confrontational and disagreeing with people or whatever. And I see both perspectives really. You know, I think your perspective is really very valuable because a lot of these people are just looking at a gold ETF versus actual gold.
Right. I just tweeted, you might check the Twitter because I just tweeted that out. There was a study that somebody did, and it's a really fascinating where they showed the GBTC, which is really an ETF kind of a thing. It's not real Bitcoin, and gold ETFs is not real gold. And then somebody else tweeted out, and I should find that tweet where, yeah, that's true, but not in the spot market. There's the real gold is being bought, huge demand for real gold. And the real gold is not on the ETFs. A lot of the real gold is in individual hands. And that's what I emphasize. Look, the next confiscation is not going to be gold because people that have gold, they don't have it in their bank vaults. They have it at their homes or, you know, they have it somewhere in their personal possession now. If you're using gold as an ETF, it's because most likely because the same reason you have BC, because you have a retirement account and they've rigged the system so you've got it all in this retirement account, these retirement accounts and pensions, and that's the new confiscation. Those are the things that are really vulnerable. And they may not take it all, but I mean, don't be surprised in the next couple of years, you know, they just come up and say, well, you know what, everybody's going to get a 30% haircut off their retirement accounts. And that's why I say it, as long as you understand that, you just don't want to have all your wealth tied up into legacy accounts. And what woke me up to the fact was when I got the first COVID check, and here I got another one, what the government can give it, they can take it away. And that's the present. That's the canary in the bird cage. That's telling you, you know what, if they can give this to me, they can take it away from me. And if you can't get that, if you don't understand that simple concept, I can't help you. It's kind of like, if you can't buy Bitcoin and hold it, I can't help you. You know, we do the best that we can. And we have the great story of my brother-in-law, you know, who I paid him from Bitcoin for something. And it said, do not sell this, just hold it. And he thought he had never sold it. And so, but he lost all of his, and he kept it on an exchange, the Mexican exchange here, which is a good exchange. But we finally figured out all the codes. He got back in and there was nothing there. And then he goes, oh, I remember I had a flat tire and I sold it. So he sold his Bitcoin to fix a flat, which today would have been worth, you know, $5,000. Why? You know, what can you do? You do the best that you can. And so the gold thing is, there's, and you know, I really like Robert Allen, and it's really a common thing. Max Kaiser, if you watch the Tone did a really good show, but he was going the same way. And I said, wait a minute, Max, but you can take delivery of gold on the futures. That changes everything. As long as you can take delivery of the gold, it's a legitimate futures market. The problem that you have with the Backet is there's no way yet, and I don't think there ever will be, to have the Bitcoin delivered to your private wallet. They say it's going to eventually be possible through the broker that you use, but so far it hasn't happened. And if that does happen, that is a market that literally could be cornered and will go into a default, because somebody could buy up in the futures market all the Bitcoin that's available and demand delivery, and it's not there.
Do you think that's kind of what happened to the oil market when it went -40?
No, that was the opposite. There was just such a glut that it was too expensive. It was costing so much for you to store that oil. It said, look, I got to dump this oil. I can't afford to pay the storage fees anymore. So take it off my hands. I'll pay you this. I'll pay you to take this off of my hands so I don't have to pay storage for the next 3 months. That's what was happening there. The same thing happened in silver. The Hunts literally did corner the market in 1980. They had all the silver in the world. They drove the price up basically from about $7 to $50, and a whole new silver supply was discovered, and it was sitting on people's fireplace mantles. People back in my day, they had silverware that was silver. I mean, I remember they had this nasty stuff that you polished your silverware with. You never use that silverware except at Christmas time and Thanksgiving at family events. You know, otherwise you use stainless steel. But that was just considered an heirloom of the days. People don't get silverware anymore. And it's more or less a collector's piece. And they also had a lot of silver things, little things that would be on people's fireplace mantles, things that were knickknacks that were made out of silver. And when the silver price rose up, people were lined up as almost like a bank run in reverse. They were lining up to sell their silver to the silversmiths in town, in the cities. And within 6 weeks, voila, they melted all that silver down, delivered it on COMEX, and the squeeze was over with. And I'm bullish on gold, because I do think now gold is still legitimate hard money. I mean, it's the number 2 competitor. It's not Bitcoin, but it's the only avenue that governments can use. I'm not going to be surprised at all if a gold standard is resurrected in one form or another. It will almost have to be for the governments to gain credibility for their national currencies again. So that is not going to be a shocker for me at all. You know,
I think that's something that's really unique with Bitcoiners, though. You know, like most Bitcoiners think it's either gold or Bitcoin.
Well, yeah, that's the problem. They don't see it as being And I get it, you know, and they argue, well, Bitcoin is better. Yeah. Hey guys, I'm with you. You know, I'm with you. I'm not fighting you. You know, I agree. Bitcoin's, I mean, that's my hodl. I don't have a big gold hoard, but I think gold is a better speculation than Bitcoin in the sense that you can use your collateral now in Bitcoin to buy gold. And you're going to see that, why don't we pull up my gold trade right now? As you see this, as it requires less and less collateral to own more and more gold. So as the Bitcoin rises, now I'm still hardly in a profitable position because I went into it last August and I think I gave up 4.5 Bitcoin. I've got most of that back. I think where it says free margin, I'm almost at 6 now. If I get it up to 8.5, I'm about break even. But the thing is, it does not take near as much Bitcoin now that Bitcoin, when I put it on in August, I don't know, where was Bitcoin in August? 10,000, 12,000? Go pull up a chart. Anybody have that handy? Just pull up, well, that's gold. Can you give me the mouse and I can get it? Okay. What am I showing? Am I showing we are showing this?
Yeah.
Okay, that's gold. Let me see if I can pull up.
Yeah, it was like 11,000 or something.
11,000.
I got wrecked on. I mean, I got wrecked on the same gold trade like 2 or 3 or 4 times, probably from 2000 down to 17. I'm still in it right now, kind of like you are.
Yeah,
and,
it takes.
You know, I've got a sizable position like you do, and you know, but the thing is like my entry, like I got back in at 1800, you know, on the 9 at the bottom.
Oh, very good. Yeah, I missed that one. That was really when I really thought we were going to take out the previous month's low, and I was waiting for that, but never happened. But yeah, I did get back in, you know, and I'm actually in lower than I got out.
On my trade, though, it's, you know, if I were to screenshot it with you, it wouldn't have the same price because I'll get in and I'll catch a run up for a while, and then I'll get nervous and completely close out the position, and it will wick down quite a bit, and then it will kind of start coming back up. And when it starts getting about $2 above my price that I start, you know, that I got nervous at, I'll get back into it and it'll run back up again. So
yeah, if you want to share your screen, you can. It's up to you. We handed it over to you.
Well, I got it on my iPad right now.
Okay, well, don't worry about it. Yeah, don't worry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'll show. How about this? I'll show it to you here. You know, so, and I take a lot of money off the exchange as well. But I mean, this is what it looks like.
Right.
You know, so like my entry right now is 1943. And I got 5, you got 8, but I've closed it out and taken money off the exchange like probably about 10 times now, just from getting nervous with gold.
Yeah.
And then, you know, so it's like I don't have that same entry price, the same profit.
Right. No, I get it. And that's where I am. I'm in the basic.
But if you look at it with my equity app, though, my equity app has been rising really nice. It just doesn't show it in like actual nominal profit terms, because
and it's different too, because Bitcoin has gone up so much. I will not be making as much Bitcoin when it, you know, as this thing rises. In other words, if I get back to my original entry point, I will not have made up for all of my loss, because the Bitcoin I lost was at a lower price. I'm earning back at a much higher price Bitcoin. So it's really kind of a weird thing. But the point is simply that as far as the volatility, the volatility of gold is very low now. The potential is extremely high. And if we go to the new highs, we're off to the races. And I think, you know, is back in the 80s, people were projecting 3,000, 6,000 gold back then. I think this year we can hit it very easily. So, you know, a move here from from you know, where we're at, which is under 2,000, up to 5,000 is just, that's going to be you know, more than 2x, and 2.5x, and you know, with the position I have on now, it will be measured in dollars. I can measure how much Bitcoin I'll get from it. Depends upon the price of Bitcoin, how fast it goes. And, you know, I really can't, I really don't know. I mean, this Bitcoin thing, it could be on its way. You know, the guy the fundamentalist that said ignore the 9 was Willie Woo, and he was right on. He went through, and I didn't, but, you know, I'd had a good year, and I said, well, if there's ever a time to go short, I'm going to do it. I didn't really get hurt on Bitcoin. My equity went down because I'm bearish on Ethereum. Again, I like Tone too, and he's persuaded me that, you know, Bitcoin alone is going to survive, but Ethereum is going to take time, and it's not going to have the catalyst at the SEC. It's going to have, it will self-destruct somehow on its own somewhere later on down the line. Hopefully I'll be smart enough to catch it. We'll see.
So what would make you get back into another hedge like you had before? I know it didn't work out, and
right now I'm you know what, I'm not doing anything deliberately because I don't know, but hopefully when it comes, I'll see it. Does that make any sense to you?
Well, I think, yeah, I mean, I've watched you long enough, and I think what you would probably look to recognize seeing it is like, you know, maybe a June contango up around, you know, I don't know what the amount would be, but, you know, a significant contango maybe going, I don't know, like
yeah, an event basically is, yeah, an event. An event like we had last March in reverse is basically what you're looking at, where you got to, you know, you're going to have to clean everybody's whistle. And, you know, I got hit a little bit on going short of Ethereum. So, you know, so that's what I'm looking at. And it's that, and just somehow that the market's going to get so overextended that we're going to have that break. And, you know, the problem is, you know, Bitcoin is still a speculation. Okay. Gold is still a store of value, guys. It still is. Bitcoin is a speculation. It sucks as cash. You don't want to use it as cash. And it sucks as a store of value because it's just too volatile. And that's why people have a hard time hodling it. It's a great store of value if you're disciplined, if you dollar cost average and so forth. But I mean, the swings, gold does not have swings, you know, with 50, 60, and 90% sell-offs. And we have that consistently in Bitcoin, and there's no reason to think it's not going to happen again. And fundamentally, what I keep saying, I think it's going to continue to happen until with Bitcoin, we also have to develop Bitcoin banking. And we've forgotten what sound banking is, and we need to relearn it. And I think we can look at history and have some ideas. I think you look at the gold standard and see what the difference is between gold and the gold standard, because they're two different things. And that's what's going to have to develop in Bitcoin. But it's going to take a long time for that to develop. It's not going to happen overnight.
What do you think, you know, with the price going down to 3,000 earlier this year and that, you know, that crazy swing that we had, what do you think the reciprocal on the upside would be for 2021? I know everyone else gave their prediction, which was really high.
Yeah, I don't think you can make that kind of a prediction. I think what will clue you off is the market, what's happening. It'll be kind of an event that happens, and then you see it, and it'll be like, and it'll be quick. It'll be like the March thing that lasted about 2 hours. You know, where we
think that has to happen this year, or could it happen in 2022?
Oh, you can have, no, it can happen in 2022. I mean, yeah, that's what scares me right now. Look, we're new. There's no way you can be bearish. I mean, I should have probably just jumped on and bought a couple Bitcoin and I'd bail out the little bit that I lost here in the last couple weeks. But I've got my hodl. I'm making it back up on the gold trade. I don't know if you guys realize it, but the 2 Bitcoin that I threw in at my final capitulation on my drop in equity, I made it up this just since Friday in gold. I picked up 2 Bitcoin on my gold trade because it's gone up that much already. So, and that is hedging strategies. You know what I mean? You guys look at, oh, well, looks like they're going, how's he doing this? He's collecting all this, he's makes money on making a market. He's making money on funding. Well, probably the biggest move, correct move, was I exited my gold last September as a loss, but stayed with my Bitcoin and picked up a whole bunch of Bitcoin, probably 10 or 12 Bitcoin by doing that. And so it more than covered, what little bit I lost in gold, and now I'm making that back up. So there's such thing as, the short-term trading on BitMEX, but then there's it's the big time moves. And I am a position trader. I'm going into this gold trade. This isn't something I'm planning on exiting next week or next month. I don't see me exiting it until probably summer. I mean, it's kind of a seasonal trade. And
How do you find like the discipline to stay with trades? Because I know it just sold off a little bit, and I'm like kind of biting my nails, and I'm like, God, do I exit right now? Like, at least I have, if you look at the equity app, I'm like, I'm kind of still doing okay, but I don't want to draw down too much. At what point do you say I don't want to draw down versus I want to stick with the trade into the summertime? Like, how do you gain that confidence to like not draw down versus stay with the trade and see the
maybe it just takes time, but I'm actually at the point that I'm my biggest worry is the exchange that I'm on. I don't like having 8, I've got 8 Bitcoin, 6, what is it?
I don't think you need that. I don't think you need that.
I don't need that much, but I want that much because if we get the break and take out a previous week's lows, I want to add to the position. I have no problem adding to this baby. So we get that break. We have that big old gap up. Now this is the whole thing, guys. You can't ignore it. This gap that you had is a yearly gap. I don't know if anybody noticed that yet. Maybe I need to point that out. Look at the gap in gold. You got a huge gap from December 31st to when the markets were all closed over the holidays, Chinese New Year and all that crap. And it opened up and it has not looked back.
I kind of look at that as a breakaway.
It may never go back to that gap.
Yeah.
That's why, you know what? If it does, it's just like we did the same thing. And I was stupid why I didn't have orders down there. Bitcoin sold right back down to December 31st close, and that was it. And it just spiked down there. If you didn't have order down there, you missed it. That spike, I was out of the market. And I was busy with family and everything else. But that spike we had, I don't know what night it was, just a day or two ago. We pull up the Bitcoin chart and you can see it. Eddie's asleep. Excuse me. Let me. I need to do the Bitcoin chart.
Oh, here. I got it.
Put up BitMEX. Okay, and now yeah. See that big old spike?
I need.
Oh shit. Okay. Hang on. All right. Let's go look.
Let me see.
There we go.
Okay.
0.7349. Yeah, you learned that napping from me, didn't you? See, you can take a nap and still hear everything. Yeah, they turned me off the other night because I was sleeping through there. Okay, And okay,
Share. Hold on.
make, yeah, go share and make it daily. Oh, no, it's there. Okay, so it's on the 4 hour. Scroll back this, oh, you're sharing it now?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So that spike sell off that you had down to 2,800, and let's see if I can roll this thing over a little bit. All right. I don't know how to do, there we go. There we go. All right. But this spike, and let's go to the daily, it'll show even better. Boom. This spike right here. Now let's do it. The 4 hour was pretty good at illustrating it. And I can maybe put an arrow in there. Let's do it like this. 4 hour. Can I pick up an arrow? I think I can. Okay, let's go this arrow. Rest spike right. Oh, we give the other arrow the other way. That one. Okay, this little spike right there. See that spike? This was all from 12/31, the end of the year. And we did this great big rally, and I blew out at the top because Ethereum blew me out. And I should have just had some orders down here because I figured, you know what, it's probably going to go right down to where we started out and then just resume. And that's exactly what happened. And the gold, we can go to the gold. Boom. Let's look at this. Look at this gap. This is December 31st. Look at this gap. I don't think we're even going to test this gap because this is not a real gap. This would be a real gap if we were in new highs, but because this is a gap here and all we're doing is this is not a real gap. This gap is just history. This gap is like launch time of the new bull gold market. And so, you know, I know I understand what these guys are saying because in a sense they're right. Yes, the gold ETFs, because everybody is in their retirement accounts, but they don't understand there is still really a gold. Peter Schiff does have a legitimate argument. Gold is gold. He calls it intrinsic value, but there is no such thing as it's imputed value. Gold has a real use value. It has a real use value in industry, in jewelry, but it also has a real use value in money, especially for national currencies, because it's physical. And just as nations have borders, gold has a border, and it's not as expandable as silver is. But there is a gold mine out there that's waiting to be tapped, and that's all the private hoarders of gold. We have a lot of gold bugs who I think wisely, you know, realized what was going on, and they don't have gold ETFs. They might own a little gold in their retirement accounts, but they have physical gold. And it's not it's not at a place where it can be taken, and it's not easy. The governments only take things that can be easily confiscated. Well, what can be easily confiscated? Your bank account and all your retirement accounts. That's easier. You know what? They don't have to fire a shot. They try and take you over your house. You know, they might have to call in a SWAT team, but they don't have to call in a SWAT team to just clip your retirement account or your bank account. And that's the real risk that I see and I warn people about it. If you are depending on your retirement and your retirement is based on your home equity and your retirement account, you are extremely vulnerable. I'm not recommending you need to sell out your entire retirement account because I could absolutely be wrong. But you certainly should have 15% of your net worth in Bitcoin. That's going to offer you the protection you need in that kind of event. The opportunities for Bitcoin is going to be how you can collateralize your Bitcoin. If you listen to Michael Saylor, he says, I'm not selling my Bitcoin. But he's not saying I'm not using my Bitcoin. He's just saying I'm not selling it. Well, I'm not selling mine either. I'm using it. So what am I using my Bitcoin for? I'm collateralizing buying 800 ounces of gold, which at $2,000, I don't know how much gold that is, $1 million worth of gold, and, I think that's right. And it takes less and less Bitcoin for me to do that. So, I always have to get a count. I'm not very good at math. So yeah, 1900, or we'll just do 2000. Whoops. 2000 times 800 ounces. That's, 1,600,000. Whoops. Yeah. So I have, and I'm not worried about that. I think I'm very well margined. And I'm actually prepared to add to the position because if we go to the weekly chart here, we'll just go to this weekly to make it easy. I don't like this chart necessarily, but if you go to the weekly chart here now, if we go down below this green candle this week, that would be the 2 week high. I don't think we're going to go down there, but before we could go up here and then try and fill that gap, because next week, because that would be the previous week's lows next week. If it does that, goes back down to that gap, I'll be adding to it. I'm hoping I can maybe trim a little bit first, but I do think now if this thing holds up all week and sells off, I want to be a buyer, but that may not happen. It could just keep going up. And that's why I want to be on board. I'm not a breakout buyer, guys, as you all know. I want to establish myself a position in a trading range. And then once it starts working my way, I'll start trading it. I will start trading gold once I have a profitable position. I will trim it. I might, pyramid it. But the structure of the gold market is very sound, and the structure of the Bitcoin market, it's extremely sound, but it's also insane. It's not the kind of market that guys, you saw me do it. I had a very small Bitcoin account and I had on some very large positions, and I, literally turned, a little, it measured in dollars, it was $7,000. And if I'd held, I didn't hodl at all because I earned my living from trading, but I turned, 1.2 Bitcoin. I started with 0.6. I had to add another 0.6, and I took out 47, which was over $1.5 million, if I was holding on to it all. So I turned, a very small amount into a very large amount. And I've done it now in 3 different cycles that are documented, either on Medium or through the CSV files, and can be picked up on the equity app. That's what the service is selling, guys. And that's if you're a member and you're interested in getting my service, all of my stuff is free. But if you want to get my actual trades or what I actually do in real time, that's what costs you, a 1/10 of a Bitcoin. And it's a half price now. If you sign up, for example, through a member, then you can get another 15% off of that. But that's the service that I'm selling, but you don't need it. It's just a helpful thing. So you can kind of learn the ropes of trading and not do the screw ups that we all tend to do. How do I get back, Eddie, to?
Hey, Ugly, I got a question for you.
Yeah. Can you get it back to the normal?
Ugly, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
There we go.
So I have a daughter. She's 15 now. I'm getting her into Bitcoin, and I want to get her your equity app. I think, for someone that's that young, the only thing that matters is really equity. It doesn't, you can throw away all the charts, and if they only follow equity for, the rest of their lives or whatever, they're going to be doing very well. I guess just going back there a little bit, I was following your trade from all the way when it was down at 3,000, and I got in part of the trade and I was in and out, and I flip-flop back and forth between being bullish and bearish. So like, hey, maybe the hyperwave will come true and it's going 1,000.
you know, maybe it'll go back up 10,000 and the world's like, you know, I'll go back and forth between being bullish and thinking the world's going to end or whatever. So how do you have the whereabouts to stay with a trade from $4,000 or under $4,000 in the futures market all the way up to $19,000 or $20,000 without really exiting that position? Because like I was saying, my gold position, I've been doing well with it, but I'm like in and out, and I'm like half the time biting my nails thinking the world's going to end. How do you have the whereabouts to like stay with it the entire way through and let your winners run?
Yeah, and that's a hard question to answer because you're not ever going to do it perfectly. Okay. And I didn't do it this time. I mean, I really had no reason to exit my long. I should have, because I had a huge position. I should have scaled out, but it never took out the two. We never had a 50%. We came close, but we never had a 50% rally in a week. We almost did this last week, but we didn't. Instead, we went right back down to that opening where you could have bought it. And so I got bearish at 20,000, and I completely missed the move. And some people were on our Telegram group were a bit salty. Well, how come you missed the move from 20 to 30? Well, I just caught the move all the way up, and you're not going to catch them all. And I'm out of the market now. But the thing is, you got to just kind of let go. You're not going to catch them all, but you're going to catch some. And this thing can shoot up to 100,000, but it doesn't matter. I'm not speculating. Maybe I'll jump in and do a little speculation here, but I'm out of the market, and I don't regret that I'm missing it. But I think that my view is the way I trade is this gold trade has this. It looks just like Bitcoin at 3,000. And I don't have any problem with that, but it's not confirmed until we hit contract highs. When we hit contract highs, we're in new uncharted territory, people, and you just let it rip. And and the next seasonal doesn't stop until summertime. We'll probably have a sell-off, June, July, August period, sometime in there. That's the kind of this historical thing in gold. You can go back, you can do your own historical studies. You can actually, I used to pay money for all this, buy old charts, get them there on paper. Shoot, you can get them online now, and most of them are free. You can go to Kitco and other places, and you can just visually do some seasonal trends on various commodities. I used to trade copper, and it was not unusual for me. It's very unusual for somebody to take a position in the commodity futures market and hold them 6 months. But I used to do it consistently. I remember I did it, we're amazed because I did it in Swiss franc. I did it in copper. I did it. I missed the silver move. I missed that one. But it can be done, and you have to have there's no maybe one thing that would help is don't get too actively involved in TA. TA is useful, but boy, if you start getting Tone printed that one thing out from J. Wells Wilder, where he says he had those 3 things, but money management was most important. But then he immediately after he said that, he goes into his new TA analysis. And so my focus is the money management. If you get that down, everything else is going to fall into place. And I see that mistake made so often that, okay. The most successful traders I've seen have always been able to do that, to take a winning horse and ride it. I've seen successful traders, but not highly successful traders that are scalpers and short-term traders. And I've seen, and most of them just get, wiped out eventually because it takes more discipline to be a short-term trader than it does a long-term trader.
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm a little confused on, because as soon as you get into OPM, other people's money, you think it's your money, it is your money, and
Right.
you don't want to draw down back to where you started because that OPM is now your money. So like, let's say on this gold trade, I'm up like 1 Bitcoin. I don't want to draw down to like let's say I started with 1 Bitcoin, I'm up to 2. I don't want to draw down back to 1.8. I'm like, I can't afford, or I don't really want to, risk drawing down to 1.8 again. So as soon as it gets down there, I start getting real nervous. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to run this horse. I don't know if I want to see how much further I can run this horse right now. But, with you, you're like, I'm going to run this horse until it's completely dead a lot of times, like you did in the Bitcoin trade, although you could have gone a little bit further probably. But I've seen, so I have a lot of friends who are really successable in Bitcoin, and all they do is hodl, and
right. That's all they do is hodl, and they probably don't. Probably the most successful. You don't need to trade Bitcoin very often, but there is a time, having a wife sometimes helps. My wife, when the Bitcoin goes up, she makes me sell. Is there something she wants, she'll get it. Okay, I get it. That's why we teach it's not just hodling, it's saving. And you don't want to just be a trader. Look, I'm a trader, but I have another business. We're kind of letting it die, and we're building Ugly Old Goat, and we're having fun doing it. And so you want to, you want to develop your personal skills, and you want to have another source of income, and you just want to, I'm persuaded that Bitcoin is sound money. It's the soundest money out there. But I am also convinced that it is a speculative vehicle. It's not cash. It will not be cash for probably up. I may or may not live to see it being cash, but it will not be Bitcoin itself. It will be some type of derivative, some type of, I call it seigniorage. I mean, basically, hodlers are going to be the new banks. As the new banks, they are the new kings, financial kings. So they're going to have the right to seigniorage. It already is happening. On Ugly Old Goat, we have the referral program. We have people that earn substantial referrals, but they're not withdrawing the Bitcoin that they've earned, every day. They'll, and we don't even offer that because I'm not an exchange. We don't have to be that liquid. So we kind of just send it out once a month, and we have to keep our eye out if somebody's requesting it. But so in a sense, that's an extension of credit. Well, we're going to figure out another way to do business with each other and transfer Bitcoin without it being on the Bitcoin network. We will have, in other words, there is such a thing as trusted third parties. There is such a thing as doing business with, other people that you trust. And that's what's going to happen. That's what banks did. They issued notes, and they were backed not just by gold, but they would actually create certificates, not out of nothing, but they were collateralized by new products that were being offered into the marketplace. That's why we had that golden age. And the governments actually provided the service of seigniorage. There was coinage out there that the public could use, and it had a face value that was in gold, but the intrinsic value was always less. The silver never amounted to the face value of the gold. And so that's a legitimate form for a government to raise revenue. And that's why I think it's going to be almost impossible not for governments to go back to some form of the gold standard. And I think that'd be great because I think Bitcoin could resurrect the gold standard and keep it more honest. It will not deteriorate as rapidly, at least, as it did, in this particular cycle, which, started with the creation of the Fed in 1913 and it's progressed ever since. So
Yeah, that's what I find really interesting about the gold trade right now is all the Bitcoiners are basically shitting on gold, yet it's still there and it's been around for 5,000 years. And everyone in Bitcoin, including me until I probably kind of started following you in the gold trade, think that gold is dead. But it's been around for 5,000 years. You're not just going to kill gold in like a 10, like 12-year,
and you know what? I think where that comes from, I get it because my dad believed in gold and silver, and so you buy silver and gold, but it never really produced. You're not getting ahead. All it is a legitimate store of value. Okay, particularly gold. Silver much more, not near the store of value, and silver is much more difficult to handle. But that was and so in my generation, we actually had silver coins that circulated, and we would be picking them out all the time because we knew those were worth more than the phony ones. But I think that millennials, if their parents had gold, that doesn't do anything. They're not making any money. Gold's no good because better to be in the stock market, better. And then Bitcoin comes along. Yeah, look, I get it. I'm one of the few. I recognize Bitcoin. Took me a long time to find it, but when I saw what it was, I didn't have any trouble jumping on the bandwagon. But I guarantee you, Peter Schiff does. And I don't think who's the other one? The guy, Doug Casey. They still have the same old pitch, where it's gold and only gold. And Doug Casey actually has been kind of buried. He's not recommending people be buying gold in here. I think this is finally the time when he was predicting $6,000 gold back in 1980, and now I think that day is here. It's here, guys. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm using my Bitcoin to buy some gold, and we'll see how it works out.
I got a question. I got one more question for you here. Yeah. Do you think if you were still involved in the legacy markets, Fidelity had access to I don't know if you do or not, but do you think you would be making trades, or what kind of do you think you'd be involved in that at all? And if you were involved,
the only thing that because I'd never traded securities as such. I traded the S&P, and I traded the Kansas City value line. I traded the indexes, and I traded the currencies, and I traded commodities, but I never owned AT&T or anything like that. I was basically, so I will probably go back just because of my preference, and I'm not, but I'll probably go back to, and particularly if we can have it on the new exchanges that are Bitcoin only exchanges, because I don't think they're going to be at risk, but I think you're going to see more and more things like, you can buy gold using Bitcoin as collateral. You can do silver. You can do, I don't know what's available on this Evolve, but you're going to see more and more things. You're going to be able to buy Tesla and Google, and Microsoft and other stocks, with gold, with Bitcoin as your collateral. That's going to be a big improvement. It really is. But that's not the same as legacy markets. It's going to be out there, again, it's just the legacy markets. And I hope I'm completely wrong. I just think the legacy markets are very, very vulnerable. Particularly, you listen to Kamala Harris or who's AOC, they're not going to have any problems. The rich owe the poor, and it's ours, and we're going to be the arbitrators, and we're going to take it from you. Of course, we're going to take 60% and maybe distribute 40%, and that would be, on a good cut, because it could be 95 and 5. That's most likely the way it'll be. I mean, when you get into a communist state, you have, you know,
You-
you're
you
either
have-
part
you
of the
have, like-
system or not.
Do you have any examples of like how, you know, I've heard you say that before, but do you have any examples of how they're going to confiscate legacy markets? I find it hard to believe that they're going to go into legacy accounts and confiscate legacy accounts without there being like massive riots and you know, I mean, if you think about them trying to confiscate money out of your legacy accounts or your home or something like that, I mean, the people are going to be like, all right, well, we're going to confiscate your life. You know, we'll just go to your house and confiscate your life.
But what can you do? The point is they're
Go
already,
kill 'em.
there's no stock certificates anymore. They've slowly set this thing up so you're dead meat. I mean, it's basically you're sitting in that account and they're going to take the easiest thing. Now, I agree, if they try and take your house, they're going to have, and you have any guns in your house, but are you going to, you know, is everybody going to, are you going to become an armed militia, and who are you going to go against to get your money back? You know, this is the problem.
True.
Yeah, where do you go? Okay, the government has just seized it. What are you going to do? Do a march on Washington? You know,
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
no, it's extremely vulnerable. That's what I'm saying. It's if they're going to go after the easiest thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, there will be a big reaction. Hey, go read the history books. There was a huge reaction when the government seized gold. There was a huge
I mean, you also see people going after Nancy Pelosi's house, you know, stuff like that as well. So I think there'll just be a huge amount of backlash, like the risk reward for them going after legacy accounts.
There will
legacy
be.
accounts versus just printing more money.
Yeah, no,
like, why would they not just print more money? You know, like maybe they'll try to go after an actual hard asset, but all the legacy accounts are essentially fiat currency anyways. So why are they going to go after confiscation of fiat currency when they can just print more of it? You know, like I can see them going after hard assets.
Right.
Like
and I get that. But the problem with that is there's a limit. And what Tonis said, the problem now is people have lost confidence in the United States completely. And that's what he thinks is going to be the catalyst. But there is a point where the thing is, when it's more profitable to speculate than to produce, and that's where we're at right now, and you're getting paid not to produce, and you know what, and if you have anything, you owe it to the rest of us mentality, which is widespread. You know, yeah, it's a real problem. It's a scary time. I don't know I don't want to be in the United States. What do you know, what's going to happen? I mean, I think if in the rural areas, for the most part, you'll be safe if you have a good, but you kind of have to be a member of that community. And it's going to be tough. You know, maybe Newport will be an isolated island in California, but, and you got to remember too, that when this happens, in this chaos, they've done studies of, you know, riots, and riots have a life of their own, and all burning of Watts and all that. After you know, they can only loot the stores for so much, and you know, once the liquor stores are all looted and all the clothes and TVs are gone, now what? You know, and they're not organized enough to you know, go into other communities. But they're trying, and that's going to be the next thing. I mean, the thing is, they are, you know, are we going to militarize the United States in some way? And, you know, that's a tough question. I mean, but we're seeing people that are jumping, willing to give up all their freedom because they're afraid of dying from COVID. I've never seen anything like it. I've lived through these flu epidemics before. We had it when I was a kid. I almost died of mumps. I never went to the hospital, but I lived in a time when we didn't have socialized medicine. The doctor would actually drive up in his car and come into your house, you know, and that you rarely went to the doctor's office. Maybe you go to the doctor, you know, once or twice a year, but he would come and see you if you were sick. We don't have that.
Yeah, I think I had the same worry as you up until a couple of days ago when you were on Tone's podcast, And, you know, I don't know how quick it's going to happen, but eventually these enforcers that you're seeing in Los Angeles right now, they got a super spreader task force that's there, and they go and crack down on New Year's parties, stuff like that. I mean, what happens when the super spreader task force is getting paid in dollars and the dollar is completely collapsing? They're going to realize these dollars that we're getting paid in don't really matter anymore. And these Bitcoiners who have, it's a limited supply. There's nothing else in the universe that has a limited supply that you can never replace. You know, like that for me.
No, that was an excellent
like,
rebuttal. No, that was a great argument, and Tone made that clear. He stated it very, how he stated it even better. I wish I could remember that. You stated it very similar to, but you're right on that one. That is the key. That's why I'm not without hope. Okay. That's why I'm down here, but I'm not excited. I'm trying to avoid at all costs going to the United States right now. I have no desire. I really kind of wanted to go and fly to Washington, and Tone said, no, don't do it. You don't need to. And I said, yeah, you're right. I don't, you know, we're kind of sick down here, and it's not my battle anyway. So it's a great argument. And so basically what's going to happen is you guys are going to be putting together a new Bitcoin society. And that's what's really cool and fun. That's the hope. That's the bright spot. And, but Bitcoin by itself is not going to do it. It's going to take men and women that have integrity and build, you're going to build a new society. We're just going to have to relearn a lot of things that have been forgotten. And, every generation has its own sin or weaknesses. And, and the millennials can very easily see all the problems from the boomers. Okay. And believe me, the boomers found everything was wrong with our parents, and my father, saw everything wrong. That's generational, and we can't see our own problems. But I think there's a lot of hope, because one of the things when I got out of prison, I just couldn't believe how well educated people are on money now. That was not the case in 1980. It was a very lonely battle for free market money or sound money. And I mean, it was when denationalization of money was that was cutting edge philosophy when F.A. Hayek came out with that book. Whereas I don't like this year. Yeah. Can we come through it? Yes, I think we can. But I don't know that, the guy that went to Missouri and left his wife and baby in Washington, D.C., I don't know how wise that was. You're going to have to, you don't want to be leaving your family alone in a big city, which he did. And, they threatened him and were pounding on her door because they knew who he was. And, it's those kind of things that are going to be happening more and more. And I think we have to really watch each other's backs. I'm a little bit disappointed that the Bitcoin community isn't really behind what's going on at BitMEX, because I do think that Arthur Hayes and all the principals involved in that company, I put them in the same category as Julian Assange and the guy in Russia. But he's almost like he's being prosecuted by the CFTC, which is really the legacy commodity exchanges, and by the Department of Justice, which are the bankers. But Snowden and Assange, they need our monetary support as well as our moral support. But the guys at BitMEX, they don't need our money, but I think they really do deserve our moral support, because they're out on the lam now. They're trying to escape the tyranny that we're all sitting here and so afraid of. And they're out there on the front line. They're the tip of the sword, and they played the game very well. because only one of them got arrested, and the one that was arrested has gotten out on bail, which is an encouraging sign. And the two other principals are on the lam. And I can do nothing but support these guys. And I think the Bitcoin community really needs to jump behind that, because BitMEX is a innovative exchange, and I've heard the criticism of shadiness and so forth, but I haven't seen it. And if I'm wrong, please point it out to me. So I'm open to that criticism if they're undeserving of our support. But I think they are deserving of our support, more deserving than anyone else out there, because they didn't just buy Bitcoin. They're not just hodling. They haven't just made a fortune, but they're risking their everything that they have. They are targets, guys. They are the targets, because they've succeeded in beating some very big players at their own game, and they've done it through Bitcoin and Bitcoin alone.
So I wonder, at what point do we all become the targets, though? Because it seems to me inevitable that Bitcoin at a certain price is a monetary, a sovereign form of war against against the federal government. It just surprises me to see the government continue printing so much money and seeing the Bitcoin prices continue to go up more than everything else, and then not be able to recognize, like, hey, maybe we got a problem here. Like, how do we stop this? Like,
right, and that's one of the reasons. Yeah, and that's one of the reasons you're taking a big risk by even making a video like this. And so, I tell people, you know what, I get it if you don't want to take that risk. It's if those of us that do need to know so wisely that we're going into it knowing this is what can happen to us. So I don't want people, my members, to show up on the show and show their face or give their identities. I don't even want, all you need to subscribe with me is an email address, and you'll get my service. And you don't need my service, okay? Because it is one of the important things is going to be having the quiet army behind us, because there may be a day when you're in trouble, and other, and that's what I see is going on now with Arthur Hayes, and we need to rally behind him. We can't ignore this, because you might be next, and I think it's very critical that we do this. So, and again, it's difficult to do. I know that it is, because nobody wants to be the next target, and people on BitMEX, most people lose trading, and most people that lose trading, they never blame themselves. They always blame something else, or the exchange, or it's all rigged. And I teach quite the opposite. You don't have to trade at all. And like I say, if you think the gold market is rigged, well, then don't participate in it. You can take physical delivery, just as you can with Bitcoin. You take delivery and you hodl. You don't have to be on the front lines. You don't have to do financial strategies. You don't have to be building a business, or you can do it in different ways to protect your privacy. Privacy is going to be a big thing. And we want people to protect their privacy, because particularly those of us who put ourselves out there, we might need you someday. Tone is my good friend. He gets in trouble. I hope I'm able to watch his back, and vice versa. That's what lies ahead. And if you're silently, have your wealth, a low profile, you take the security so nobody really know. I had a client, I paid somebody in Bitcoin. I told him, just hodl it. When you want to buy more Bitcoin, you can buy it from me. I said, here's the exchange if you want to, but you know what? The best thing you can do, because he's a full-time professional. Just don't worry about it. Do your work, don't let anybody know you have it. Don't register it on any exchange. Don't do anything with it. And that's great. the more and more people that have that kind of security, that's going to be the system that's going to provide the leaders, the ones that put their head out on the line. They're going to be the ones that can't, whether they will come to the rescue is one thing, but at least they will have the ability to. And I think that's critical. And that's why I want to see people get behind supporting these guys at BitMEX that are on the lam fleeing from the United States government. Look, if they could shut down BitMEX, they would have already done it. They can't do it. That's why it's operating. Believe me, they tried. It's not like, what is it, Silk Road, where all of a sudden FBI closed it down. Believe me, if they could shut down Mex and put an FBI sticker on BitMEX, it would already be done. Therefore, from that viewpoint, I think that BitMEX is probably the safest exchange out there, and the only safe exchanges now are Bitcoin exclusively exchanges that are not legacy exchanges or have legacy accounts or involved in KYC or AML. Knowing your customer is extremely important. I'm a businessman. I want to know my clients. They want to know me. That's not the issue. But if that information that I have should not be privy to the government. Shouldn't be a surveillance vehicle for the United States government or any government in the world. Now, that doesn't mean that perhaps they can't subpoena me for certain specific things. That's what we worked out in the Constitution. But that is not what's going on now. Everything is out there. And you have to, we really lost sight of what our Constitution is and what our constitutional protections are. So, that's my view. That's why I only take, we only take an email account is all that we need. I don't do any more, but we're not a financial service. I'm simply showing you what I do. I'm not making any trading recommendations. This is what I'm doing. Here are my trades. Here's my track record. And you can do the same. There's going to be guys out there that can do a lot better. And, that's why I put it out there. So at any rate, I'm about spoke out. Wow. But anybody, you got any, I guess silver's going up too a little bit. Yeah, I'm not bullish on silver.
Like I was saying, what I find real interesting right now, obviously, I'm on like 5-6 different platforms where we're trading something. But what I find really interesting right now is the energy market and the commodities market. Because I think that the next massive shortage is just going to be in regular, it's going to be, you're going to see oil creep up, sugar, wheat, just regular commodities.
Oh yeah, no, if we recover, you'll see, there's always been post-war inflations. But we might be going into a war situation. The problem that we have right now is we have a production situation, and I don't know how bad it is. So your basic thing, we still have to eat, folks, and if we, and it's not just producing the wheat and the corn and the beef, but you also have to get it to market. So all of these things, and which includes the oil market, and all of these things are at work. The problem is, if the system breaks down, there's no incentive for the producers to produce anymore, and that's what happens in a hyperinflation. And it just becomes bonkers to accomplish anything. And we are already doing that. With all this stuff, right now in Mexico, it's you go to the bank and it takes 2 hours to get anything done, and everything's taking longer and being produced, less being produced and so forth. So, and the United States is spoiled. There's a huge, entitlement system that's going on out there. And, you know, did you get a check dropped in your bank account yesterday? I did. I didn't look for it. They dropped some money in my helicopter money. Apparently, I didn't, meet the quality. I went back and looked. It's all based on your 2019 tax return, and this is insanity. The panic over this endemic is insanity. The way there's just this group thought that's being I've never witnessed anything like it before. I almost don't even want to get in conversations because you know what? You're not going to, I don't buy into the COVID panic narrative. I have COVID. I could die from it. It's not going to change my narrative on it because it's not that big
Yeah,
deal.
yeah. No, it's kind of funny because the only reason I even believe in COVID at all is because you said that you got it and the goat lady said that she got it. Other than that, like I probably would just say it's a complete government hoax. But just you and the goat lady saying that you've got it, I'm like, all right, it is real because I know that
real.
I know that
Eddie is here, and his mother
someone
died from it last May. So it's real. But she had health issues, and my wife she went down deep and came back. She could have very well, but she has serious health issues, more serious than anything I have, even though, I'm nearly twice her age. So, I'm just an ugly old fart that doesn't want to go quite yet, wants to see his daughter get married. So hopefully I'll hang around here for a little while. And I feel like I've got a huge purpose in life. I love doing what I'm doing. I'm loving sitting here and just talking about Bitcoin, pass on what I'm doing, and I give, and, you guys, I envy you guys that are your late 20s, you're in your 30s, because you're going to be taking up this ball and it's going to be a blast. I mean, it's pioneering a whole new thing. And, take the ball and run with it, but don't forget some of the roots. And I really think it's important to go back and look at how, what a Bitcoin standard means. That's going to be the big definition. And my belief is the best way to learn that is when you go back to the best model that we had, and that was the gold standard that actually regulated the money supply through the free markets. And it wasn't even deliberate. It just emerged through banking. The bankers figured it out, and it turned out to be so good. They said, wow, let's nationalize it. And that's what they did.
So back then, did you measure? I mean, I measure my net worth in Bitcoin. Did you measure your net worth back then in ounces of gold?
I was trying to the best that I could back in the 70s and 80s. That's what I was, but people did it automatically as the gold standard emerged. I mean, what happens is when the gold standard emerged, it actually just acted as an index, as a governor. And what happens is the money supply is created, but it's not. They call it. The Rothbardians want to say, well, it's got to be 100% backed. Well, it is 100% backed if you measure it in gold and the new goods coming. In other words, it is collateralized. It may not be in gold, but there's not. But if you have, so you create the new money that can be used to pay off your employees, to pay off the suppliers and so forth, because it takes time to produce something and get it to market. So there was a creation of this money that was fully collateralized. As these things reach the market, then this money creation was retired. So the money supply was actually regulated by the actual market forces. And it was it was the innovation of money, the most advanced money that we've ever had. And it was really the invention of, the 19th century bankers after the Civil War up to the creation of the Fed. And that's what created that generational wealth that's never been repeated. And so you go back there and you can duplicate that, because Bitcoin alone is not going to do it for us, guys. It's just not. You have to have, you have to build, a, and we had all kinds of debates on that. If back in my day, Milton Friedman, and you've seen the same thing happen in the shitcoin. Well, we have a fixed rate of money creation. I think, like Milton Friedman, he's free to choose. The guy was free market, and yet he thought, well, we just need a money supply that increases a steady amount every year, 5%, was like he came up with. But the problem with that is, well, if it's 5%, why not 10? Why not 20? What do you think is the amount? The bankers had already solved this. They created the money. It was measured by the new. Now, you could make a mistake in judgment, like if you were a banker and you were bankrolling buggy whips when the car was being invented. The buggy whip price, I'm sure there was a glut at one time of buggy whips, because as the buggies disappeared and the horses disappeared, just as I'm sure there was a glut of horse harnesses at one time as the automobile developed. So the wise bankers, were financing automobiles, and the not so wise bankers were financing the horse harnesses. And so, the guys that were financing the horse harness industry, their banknotes would be called. So, you know what, we don't really like these loans you're making, so just give us your gold. And they actually would have gold clearinghouses. The original banks was a clearinghouse created by the banks. And their notes were actually, if you were making questionable loans and other bankers thought that your loans were questionable, then your notes would be discounted. If there was no question about your notes could actually go for a premium. It's the same thing that happens in all free markets, but the actual money supply was determined by estimating the worth of the new goods coming into the marketplace. Mistakes are made, mistakes will be made, but it's a self-regulating thing that it's not going to cause a catastrophe if somebody makes a mistake. You'll just have one bank that suffers for a time. It might even go belly up, but you don't have all your money in one bank. It's just like, I have people that they have Bitcoin with me. They haven't asked for it. They trust me. And that's going to happen. Like I say, it's not just Bitcoin, guys. There has to be there's also an element of integrity involved. And that there's going to have to happen side by side. And I think, Jimmy's song has touched on it. I think Saifedean has touched on it. I don't think they agree with me at all, because I think they both might consider what I'm advocating is, well, that's not 100% Bitcoin. And no, it's not. But it is 100% collateralized. It is 100% wealth. And so there is a distinction between what I say is Bitcoin and the Bitcoin standard. And for us to get through this dark period ahead, to get to the other side, we need to develop sound commercial banking. And I think it'll come. But you guys are going to have to rediscover it. It won't be me. You guys can do it. You're your own bank. You're your own bank.
What's going to be sound
Benjamin?
commercial banking, like a Microsoft or something? Like what does sound commercial banking look like? Because most of us just know, commercial banking as like Fidelity, and you look at Fidelity and you're trading on Fidelity and you have no idea as a Bitcoiner what the heck is going on with Fidelity. You're like trying to trade in and out of options, and it's like your margin balance is this, your cash balance, you're like, it's like a 3-day settlement or whatever. And, all you're trying to do is just make some more money so you can convert it into Bitcoin and, get off the exchange really. But it's just absolutely ridiculous. Like all the rules on there for someone who's been a Bitcoiner trying to look at Fidelity. You call up the brokers like and ask them what's going on. There's just so many rules on there, and as a Bitcoiner, like we just love that there is no rules or whatever.
Right.
It's
No,
just a
exactly.
free market.
And right. And so basically what's going to be happening is you guys will be writing the new rules. And so what my recommendation is, you go back and read, just Google it. And I put it on a number of my articles, but read the description by E.C. Harwood, who founded the American Institute for Economic Research, and read his treatise on the lost art of sound commercial banking. And he gives a description of what it was. He said, this is lost. People, and even in his generation, he saw it being lost. And he said, people never understood what happened between 1860 and 1910. And then, and that is the description. And he says, this is what we have to we have to resurrect and relearn. And it can be done. And when it does, it will happen relatively quickly. It happened relatively quickly after the Civil War. And in a lot of different ways. And one interesting history too, if you ever have a chance to study the history of American Express. They were actually nationalized by the post office because they were actually acting as like a Federal Express in its day. Through they figured out, because you had this complicated rail system, and so you had to go through all these rails, and their whole thing was they could do remittances through the railroads attached to the whatever was being sold in the marketplace. And that's kind of the birth of American Express money orders. But they got to be so good at it that the government actually put them out of business back, once they nationalized the banking, and they nationalized they basically nationalized American Express. And I don't think American Express I forgot the whole history, but it is a fascinating history. Of the history of American Express. And it's not near the company now that it was back then, but it was very innovative, and it was just incredible, the network that they put together. And that's these kind of things. These things are happening. I need to look into I think the Liquid Network might be very something. That's the beginning of it. Hayek writes, he made it clear that I always thought that there would be, I got involved in the shitcoin market because I thought, yeah, free market money, you're going to have competing money, so you're going to have competing standards. But if you reread Hayek and read those articles subsequently to that, he recognized, no, there'll only be one standard that will evolve, and then the competition is on that standard. And that's why, we are Bitcoin standard bearers, or some people call them Bitcoin maximalists, because we realize that, if there's going to be a candidate for sound money, one is going to win, and we all compete on that. And it's a fair and level playing field. And nobody wants the shitcoiners, they really want to be the standard. And that's why they say we're better than Bitcoin. They all want to be the new Bitcoin, rather than say, you know what, we've got what we need now, what we didn't have before, let's work with it and take it to the next level. So what you're seeing now is this cleansing, and what Tyler Jenks, said was, we're cleaning the barnacles off the ship. And that's exactly what was going on. I mean, Tyler Jenks is a great guy, great technician. He knew the hyperwave I love, because I knew he got it from Ted Warren. It was unfortunate he made that one statement, 99.9% sure. And when he did it, I just went, oh, because I knew you can't make a prediction. Nobody knows, and nobody knows. And actually, I think it did go $1,000 in Canadian dollars. It went to $1,000. I don't know if you knew that or not, Ben, but one day in Canada, Bitcoin went to under $1,000.
Wow. Yeah. Can you see me? Can you see me right now, by the way, or not?
Yeah, I'm looking at you right now.
Oh, okay. I'm not sure if I'm on your YouTube channel or not, But you know,
I'm seeing you. I don't know if people are other people seeing you. Do they see him?
Okay. Well,
I don't know
yeah.
what-
So yeah. Yeah. I mean, I just can't believe, you know, I love Tyler, I love Leah, but I just can't believe they made such an amateur mistake at such a crucial point for so many people's net worth. He's predicting like a $10 million Bitcoin, but like doesn't want to buy in at 3,000 because he thinks it's going to because he thinks it's going to 1. Anyways, that's all in the past.
Right. Well, and I understood the content, and I never, that was the only bad part about it because it never affected me. I never saw it that way. Okay. But I could see how other people could see it that way. And that was a disturbing thing for me. It's not because I don't think it was Ryan. I don't think he didn't mislead me. I knew exactly what he was talking about. And I knew, but I said, ooh, and he's 1,000 or 10 million. So I took it in that context. And, it's ingrained in me. Nobody knows. And so, he could, and it would have been fine if he even said $1,000, but when the 99.9%, that's what you can't do because it's TA is TA. It doesn't work all the time. And hyperwave theory is great. It's it's foundationally sound. It's classic Ted Warren. It's when you ask me, well, how do I find a market that I get into and I just ride it for all it's worth? That's what hyperwave is. That's what Ted Warren taught. Now, the difference that what I don't like is hyperwave TA is not high. I consider Bitcoin a hyperwave. That is why we dollar cost average. That is why we have the foundation. But if you go into hyperwave TA, that's different. Well, it's got to get this point. And now you're in hyperwave. Well, yeah, but you needed to accumulate it before it happened. So that's the whole deal. That's why we dollar cost average. So I think you need to properly incorporate money management into we're in the hyperwave now, guys. It's there.
Yeah. I mean, I fully
keep throttle, Huh?
I fully believed in a hyperwave, and I got completely wrecked and ruined on a hyperwave. I had to go back to just my regular, job for a while, which was completely fine. But it was like, how do you trade this thing? I mean, how is it actually useful? And at the end of the day, the only thing that's useful is money management.
Yeah. And, we all fall victim to that. I'm sitting there on that tee. Sometimes I see myself and I go, oh, geez, what am I doing? Are you predicting ugly? I go, oh, gee, I'm sorry. Maybe, how do you price where Bitcoin's going to go if it becomes the new money? If it becomes the standard? That's why the gold standard was taken for granted because nobody gave it a second thought. The dollar and gold was the same thing. When you had a dollar, you had no problem going in and redeeming it for gold. And that was never the issue. The issue was they could not inflate beyond what the market was demanding because the bankers figured out how to free market banking. The only way they could inflate it is they had to nationalize it. And that's what they did. And then you have 4 generations of inflating the currency, and you can look at every stage in the results. And this generation tends to look at it at when it was 1971 when Nixon closed the gold window. I don't see it that way. It was going on. That was just, we said, see, that was our proof. We don't look at that 1971 date at people my age that understand monetary theory. We don't look at 1971. That's the day we got off the gold standard. No. We look at the confiscation that Roosevelt was actually setting the price every day. He'd wake up in the morning and arbitrarily decide what they're going to pay for gold. And nobody saw, what was going on when they created the Fed or created the income tax or created Social Security. My grandparents they were huge beneficiaries of Social Security. My grandfather, he worked for a few years, and I don't know, he was born in the 1880s, but when he was 60, it was probably in the 40s. And he just paid in a few years Social Security, and he was paid Social Security. He lived to be 92. He made out like a gangbuster, but my dad didn't. He paid in, his whole life. He had to pay double, because he is an entrepreneur. He had, employees. All the employees had to pay it, and he had to match it. And they may or may not have been. The only reason I may come out even is that, I did a lot of time in federal prison where I didn't work. So, they couldn't, they fed me. I wasn't feeding them, you know. So we have a different view. The big event was not the night. Yeah, it was traumatic. I remember the day when Nixon closed the gold window, but it was not that big a deal. It was not, that wasn't the defining event. That was when the people that were smart, and that's when E.C. Harwood had already gotten all of his followers into gold in Switzerland before that event happened. And that's why he was prosecuted by the SEC. That's why he went through hell for years. And he was really a heroic person in his day that really few people know about. And I had a privilege of knowing him and meeting. And he's a regular guy. I mean, he's a smart guy. He was scholarly, but he was an engineer. He was a blue collar kind of guy. He didn't mind getting his hands dirty. I know we went to I met him the first time at the NCMR, National Committee for Monetary Education in New Orleans, and my friend Jim Blanchard, who Blanchard is his son. He has a gold business now, and he's been at an unconfiscatable, and his father had this great conference, and E.C. Harwood was always invited to speak, and he had such a great following, and he had this book on the money mirage. And he self-printed. It was hardback. It was not very beautifully designed. And here he was 89 years old, all by himself, taking out these books and putting one on every chair. And I'm in it. Oh, you're Colonel Harwood. So I was there just helping him. And I felt so good taking his money mirage and putting it on every chair. And these were a conference where Jim Blanchard would have 4,000 or 5,000 people at these conferences, but it was it had a lot of good stuff in it, but it was kind of like some of the Bitcoin conferences. It had some flaky stuff in it too, because people would pay to be at the conference and so forth. But it was a very successful conference, very popular, and Jim Blanchard was the guy that was behind the movement to legalize gold. And, so that's what his calling was. And like I said, those are the good old days that I remember. And like I say, I highly recommend, if you haven't read Harwood, read at least his description of sound commercial banking, because hopefully it will plant a seed in your heads similar to the seed that was planted in my head. And I don't know what the answer is. I don't know how you guys are going to develop it. And I'm not going to be so egotistical or dogmatic that I know for sure. And I'm not going to say that, maybe maybe gold is now a barbaric relic. That's what the Keynesians have always said. That's what a certain element in the Bitcoin movement think. I don't agree with that, but perhaps they're right. It's just that I don't think history is on their side. I don't think the fundamentals are on their side. And for most of them that believe that way, they don't really understand the gold market. All they've seen is the ETF, and they think that's some kind of manipulation. And it is, but it's not, because it's only there if that's the game you're playing. If you're not on the legacy markets, if you bought gold and you have gold, you still have the gold. And I'm not going to discount that it will not through it all still emerges money. And I will almost say that most likely for any government to get its credibility back, they're almost going to have to go back to a gold standard. And I think Bitcoin will even be more useful, because the purpose of Bitcoin then will be to keep the gold honest. And then when that happens, Bitcoin will probably just start going down, and really nobody cares about Bitcoin anymore, because you got sound money again between nations.
Who knows? Maybe
The
Bitcoin
fundamentals
will be,
behind Bitcoin is not Bitcoin. The fundamentals behind Bitcoin is, 4 generations of inflation. It's 4 generations of entitlement. It's 4 generations of regulation. You know what? When I grew up, we didn't have 911. It didn't exist. Now everybody, in order to feel safe, they have to, I'll call 911. We looked out after ourselves. For 150 years, the nation never had Social Security. It didn't exist. And for the first 120 years, they never taxed your labor. Guys, no man's work should be taxed. A simple, easy principle. And if somebody would just run on that ticket, you know what? No, man, if you're working, we're not going to tax you for your work, because you deserve to be rewarded for work. You don't deserve to be rewarded for not working. And that's what we're doing now. Now, my grandmother used to say, if you don't work, you don't eat. And you know what? That's exactly right. So simple, but man, that's a poor home. No, you can go to work. And there are little things. When the guy's out there selling something, and I like that about Mexico, because people are out here selling something, and you know what? I'll buy it from them. At least they're out there hustling and they're doing something. They're out.
You can go to work if everyone's on a Bitcoin standard, but if everyone's on a fiat socialist standard, what's the point? A lot of these guys are like, I'm never going to get ahead with making 50 grand a year or getting unemployment. So what's the point of working when you have U.S. government is only, like, if you go back to the Weimar Republic, all the government has to do, you don't have to manufacture anything. We just have to manufacture dollars. So I think we're new to realizing that, that we don't need to produce. The U.S. doesn't need to produce anything. We produce dollars. Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. It's no one needs to produce anything. You just produce dollars.
Yeah.
Borrow money. We got new EIDLs, we got new triple Ps, we got new stimulus, and you can get it at less than 0% when you look at the inflation rates. So I can't wait until they allow the second rounds of EIDL or whatever it is. I'm maxing that out. You can figure out. I watch a lot of guys like Grant Cardone, and they figure out ways to make debt work. And if you can't make a return with a less than 0% APR loan, you're a gambling addict. So, or you just don't have the right type of money management, or you don't have the right type of markets. You don't have the right type of sound money following.
Yeah, but it's also sad that we have to play that kind of a game, and that's the whole thing. That's a reflection of the market structure where we're at. It's because, we want people to gain not from speculation and not gaming the system, but we want, people should be rewarded for actual production and for actual work. And that's why I do think it's very important that the income tax it has to be abolished. This has to go in conjunction with abolishing the Fed. Abolishing Social Security has to go in hand with what's going on here. These are radical things that, that people are not going to stand for easily. Just like it's so difficult for people to understand that their government is so corrupt and that there is no due process. Well, that's one of the nice things about this election. People are waking up about that. I had a request here that people want to go look at the market. We can go look at it. There's really not much going on except we're making new highs. And I don't see anything that I think that the important thing right now is we're in a new uncharted territory. There's no limit how high this can go. There's no way I can predict it. I have no clue where the market is going. Neither does anyone else. And I'm trading accordingly. Right now, I'm doing nothing except I'm long gold using Bitcoin as collateral. We are kind of busy in this promotion. We've been hit by COVID, so I'm not actively trading. I probably will step back into the market somewhere, but I mean, you got to be buying this thing. I didn't buy the dip. I didn't buy, there was a secondary dip. I didn't buy that. And I'm just, that's fine. What I will be outlining is that the structure of the market is not the same. It's just completely different from what it was going to be this year. It's very possible that the low is in, that spike down was it for the year.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what you mean by the structure has changed. I mean, I can see that there's funding. I can see that there's contango. I can see that there was a wick down that no one caught. I can see that there's tons of government printing. I just, I don't understand how anyone at this point could be bearish. I've got long positions and, I'm not over leveraged or anything like that, but,
you got to take over, Ben. Ben, I got to take a pee break. I'll be back and we'll come. Eddie, you got to wake up and take over. I'm an old man and I can't wait that long. So I do this regularly. Yeah. Part of the show.
All right. I don't really know how to fill the time here. How many people? We got 36 people watching and not a whole lot of Telegram activity as far as the Ugly Old Goat Trading Lounge membership goes. So I think that must be pretty bullish for the market to hear that it's pretty quiet right now. I wish I could share some screens with you guys. I see that Ethereum is in a pretty textbook ascending triangle right now. And, so I've been kind of watching also ETH over BTH. And, I think that we maybe just now beginning a new alt season. So I've been playing ETH a little bit, but no guarantees that it's going to work. But we'll see what happens. And we'll see if the gilt gets back soon.
Hey, Ben, how did you do in the last unconfiscatable poker tournament?
I haven't played poker since I haven't played a single game. I haven't played a single hand of poker since I've won that tournament, actually.
Really? Were you at the last confiscatable or just the first one?
I won the first one, and that was the first time I played poker since playing online. When I was playing online in college, I paid for a lot of my college by being an online poker player, and played a couple hands. I got sick of it. I wanted to build a career and invest in myself and learn as much as possible. And I knew poker wasn't a great solution for that long term. So I paid for a lot of my college by playing online poker when I was, 21, 22 years, probably actually younger than that, 19 and 20 years old when it was pretty new. And then completely gave it up until the unconfiscatable tournament. And I actually won a lot of tournaments online, when I was that age as well, but mainly playing like some pretty decent high stakes cash games online, and completely got out of it until unconfiscatable. And I won the unconfiscatable tournament in 2018. I haven't played a single hand of poker since then.
And it's hard to win one of those tournaments. I mean, it's not an easy feat, and you could tell you were worn out at the end of that tournament. I remember looking at you, and I was
drinking whiskey the entire time as well. So, yeah.
remember. And Doug Pohl was there, and he did a great job of narrating the thing. I hope they can get that too.
And I
'cause,
actually
yeah.
got one of your staffs. I got one of your staffs as well. Same thing, one that you have behind you. You gave
Oh,
you actually
really?
you gifted me one of those staffs, but I think I was so tired and like, you know, at the end of the tournament, I was just so tired and like drunk and ready to go to the strip club and gamble and stuff like that. I didn't realize that you actually gave me it. I thought you were just handed me. I got a picture still somewhere on my phone of me with your staff, but I didn't realize that you were giving it to me. And I think I don't know what happened to it. I think I gave it back to you, or maybe it's one of the ones back there or something. I don't really know. But
Oh, well, you didn't keep it. I gave you one, and I got it. I don't remember. Yeah, if I gave you one, it's not for me to have it back, huh?
Yeah, no, I had a whole bunch of. I mean, I had the cold card wallet with the Bitcoin, and I don't know what happened to it. I think I gave it back to you. It may be one of those ones back there, but I still have a picture of it. And
well, we got some here. Next time, maybe if we go unconfiscatable, I'll give you. Well, that kind of good. I'm glad that you brought that up because I've got a couple people. We did a fundraiser, and we want to sell the staffs, and whoever wins we want a stipend for. And I haven't, because Tyler Jenks died. I'm still looking to pay his little. We don't have much, but it doesn't take a lot of. Because I had a couple people buy the staffs, and we sold them like $1,500, and I just took the cost out, which was $400, and the rest of them went to whoever was the recipient. And everybody that is awarded the staff or has staff, when you give them one, you have qualified. We want you guys to nominate the 2020 the 2020 participant, and so. If you have someone that you want to consider to be a big Bitcoin standard bearer, you are entitled to make a nomination. I'm still going to be the final arbiter. To me, hands down, it's got to be Arthur Hayes. Prove me if I'm wrong, guys, because if I'm missing something, some people think it was shady and stuff, but I can't see it. Oh, there it is. All right. Wow. Okay. Wow, what a memory that is.
right, I don't know what happened to that staff. I think it's the one behind you there.
Yeah. We've still got some. Yeah, no, we got 8 or 10. We'll be taking them to unconfiscatable and hopefully.
But it's funny. It's funny that you said I was tired at the end, because I remember, I came to the final table with basically a mountain of chips, and I remember getting down to about 3 or 4 people, and one of my friends was just feeding me whiskey the whole time, and I remember getting down to about 3 or 4 people, and I was like, hey, hey Jay, I have to. You got to keep bringing me these whiskeys, otherwise I'm never going to make it through this final table. And he just kept bringing to me. He kept bringing to me every time someone would go out, or leave the final table. And I was like, as long as you keep bringing these whiskeys to me, I got a chance. But if you stop them right now, I'm gonna fall asleep. So we had. Let's see. I could probably pull up another good picture for you here, actually. Maybe I shouldn't dox myself too much.
Yeah, don't dox yourself too much. You got enough. Let. There's no secret who I am anymore, but.
Well, I mean, there's so many people going public, and not necessarily going public.
Yeah, and this is public, so this is not just member only. So I kind of want to we do a member only. I'm not too concerned about it, but this is going public, just so people can see it. We're kind of testing. We're going to do. I mean, Bitcoin's gone up so much. My service is way overpriced, but I'm not going to lower it because I do know what it's worth. I do know what I'm, and what the track record is something that I'm just not going to give that away. But everything else that we are willing to, and we need, and so that's why we have the website, and it's because of members like you that we are able to do this. I mean, because you made it possible. I don't. I make my living in other ways, but everything we take in for the subscriptions, we put right back into it. Now it might be buying some more razors, so when you come down and visit us, you can go on a trip. That's part of it too. We want to have some fun, but and we've got to, we're going to build a new studio. We got all kinds of. Tone was real. He couldn't believe the cameras we have, and I don't know how to do this stuff. So I'm getting I got these youngsters around me that are, they're excited, and hopefully we'll go to the next level this year, and then I'll be slowly fade away. So, but yeah, I mean, hodl guys, and don't, the mistake that Tyler made is just, we all have done it. I mean, it's just because it's so easy. You believe in your system so much, but it's nobody knows. And I knew exactly what it was saying because I read the article and I said, yeah, 1,000 or 10 million. And so it was exactly that. I said, well, maybe you go to 1,000, but this is, the risk right now is you can safely buy it. And there was a lot of other things telling us that. And Hyperwave is more than technical in my view. Hyperwave is also fundamental. And I do think not just Bitcoin will be into a hyperwave. Gold is very likely to. Other commodities are very likely to. The difference in gold this round is the crisis that we have right now is monetary. It really is. Back in the 70s, it was monetary, but we actually did have commodity shortages. And we had droughts, so forth. So you actually had an inflationary. Gold didn't take off until the last part of the 70s. It was the last thing to go when the commodities had already reached their peak in like 1973. The gold window was closed in 71. The peak in the commodity futures back then was in 1973. And gold did not peak until 1980. Gold and silver, they peaked, years later. And the commodities all peaked at different times. I mean, soybeans had its day, cattle had its day, pork bellies had its day, sugar had its day, cotton had its day, copper, they all had their day, and they all went at different times and at different rates. And if you're trading commodities or trading indexes, you can do it successfully, but just don't think that you have a fail-safe system, because you don't. The only fail system we have is to manage that risk. And while you've seen it, you know that you can take a small amount and make a lot. It's just that the trick is you don't want to give it back. That's the trick.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's kind of funny because I'm not nearly as good of a trader as you are. And, but one of the things I think that I'm onto that may make me a good trader in the future is the fact that I haven't actually really lost any money this year. I'm like, all right, I'm kind of, I'm like a little bit above treading water, and I have, and the confidence of just being able to do that, I guess, is to show that I'm probably on the right track record, because now I know, without actually having an equity app, where I stand as far as managing my risk, and it's continued to rise this year. So, not significantly in actual Bitcoin units like you have, but
Well, and that's what I tell people too. That's a milestone. If you're an active trader and you've traded for a whole year and you break even, you are on the verge of really being a consistent, good, successful trader.
Yeah.
Because you finally got, but you have to almost constantly remind yourself so you don't fall back into those old bad habits. Because you'll go through the same cycles, it just won't be so bad. You're on a run, you're doing so well, and then you get you get the King Kong complex. Oh, I'm so smart, and then you get cut down to size again. And that's where I am now. I just I got cut down to size here over the holidays, and it's the best thing that happened because I'm out of the market now, and I don't need to be doing anything. And now I've got just a little bit in that account, and we'll see what we can do. I kind of just have to figure out. I got to get into a whole new mindset. How do I trade with just that there? Because I'm used to swinging my dick around a whole lot more. Now I'm just trading a little bit here.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be kind of cool if you had like something where you had the equity app and you were just trading, just using it. I know you kind of already do that already, but a lot of people don't understand how valuable that is.
Well, you know what? Maybe Victor always wanted to try that. Maybe that would be a good time to do it. But maybe we should just take this 0.3 and see if we can do random trading, and for a while, see how it happens, and just see. Okay, I mean, we've been talking about doing that, but yeah, I do think you have to have a bias. You certainly have to have a bullish bias, and
well, I think what you could do is you have your equity app. If you hit the 2-period low, it's a goat stop, and you double down there for whatever it is, whatever position you're in. And then if you're hitting the 2-week or you're hitting the 2-period high, you're trimming there, and that's all you're doing. Right?
It doesn't matter what time frame you're on. Yeah, that's an idea.
Doesn't matter. Yeah.
It's a real simple system.
And then
that's an idea, I'll see what we can do.
Yeah,
I guess. Yeah, I guess you could even write. That's what I say. These guys that do the bot trading, that's what they do. They program it in, and you know what? Hopefully Victor will get on tomorrow, and maybe we can hop on. He can come on with us, and we can talk about it.
I think that's honestly, I think that's groundbreaking. When I heard that with one of your guys that was on talking about his how he was trading it, I was thinking to myself, this is the most unique thing I've ever heard in my life. I don't think anyone else has ever had this other than just mental notes. If you're extremely smart at having money management like you, but most people don't figure that out until they're well into their retirement.
Yeah, that's what I say. That's why I said, boy, I wish I could trade all my Bitcoin to be 40 years younger. But I would, I'd have squandered away on, all my weaknesses. So I'll leave it at that. So, now I'm, it took me a long time to get settled.
Well, hey, Ugly, I appreciate everything you've done. I probably got to get to bed here.
Yeah, well, thank you for coming. Yeah, we're gonna go. So we never knew. I didn't know what was gonna happen. I'm gonna get up in the morning, and we're gonna have a big day tomorrow. If you're free, hop on with us. I'll try and get Victor on. I'll talk to him about what we're talking about. That sounds fun.
Yeah. So real quick, do you think we're going to be hitting 45,000 Bitcoin this week or next week?
We're in Hyperwave, guys. I mean, it's looking like I don't know what's going to stop it now. The only thing is, we're coming up on the 6th, and you're blowing off, and you either have a continuation of the move or reversal. So,
yeah, I used to ask those same questions that Tone was asking, but after following your channel and after following money management, I've come up with the conclusion of who cares, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you really, I mean, I'm doing very well right now with my hodl. I don't, so all I can do is step in and blow it, and my gold trade's working like a gangbuster. So, I always say the best thing I can do is probably right now just sit on my hands and watch.
Yeah.
Let other people trade this. I got mine, guys. You figure it out.
Well, I mean, I've got time, but at the end of the day, once you figure it out, once you've applied the lessons that you've taught of money management, at the end of the day, whether Bitcoin is at $45,000 this week, next week, or at any point in the future, who cares? We know what money management means to us. We know how to use it. and we're never going to allow ourselves to get ruined anymore. I mean, I'm
Right.
okay with getting wrecked.
Yes. Okay to get wrecked. Okay.
Yeah, I don't care. Whatever. Like if it doesn't matter if Bitcoin to me goes to, I hope it doesn't go to 14,000 or whatever, but if it does, I'm not going to be ruined. And, I'll definitely be hurt, but once you've figured it out, as long as you're not ruined, you can always live to fight it another day.
Yep.
So that's where I'm going to end it. I got to go.
All right. We'll
But I
see you.
appreciate
Thanks for coming on.
everything. Hey.
Guys, thanks for tuning in. This is really good. Just a one-on-one with Benjamin Peterson, the winner of the first unconfiscatable poker tournament. Man, that's a big event. You'll go down in history for that. I think maybe you should be one of the nominees for the Bitcoin Standard Bearer. But get a hold of me on let me know who you think you like to see get the Standard Bearer this year.
All right. See you
For
guys.
consideration.
Thanks, Ugly.